Today we are speaking with Judge Teske, presiding judge of the Clayton County Juvenile Court System and a member of the 2012 Special Council on Criminal Justice Reform. Judge, today we are in Dalton where Governor Deal has signed this year's juvenile justice legislation. I'd like to give you a moment to step back from the actual bill and talk about the drivers in juvenile justice. What brings some children and young people into your courtroom whereas others are never there?
Mostly it's family dysfunction. We have most of the kids we're seeing today in most courts are kids in which we have broken families. Most of them have single parents. Most of those are mothers. And there are poor or very weak problem-solving skills, not just among the young people, but also their parents. And we're seeing more and more parents coming into court saying, I cannot handle my child anymore. I want you to take my child. I want you to do something with my child. I've had some parents, too many parents, demand that I lock their kid up, demand that I commit them, to the state. So, that has forced us to take a broader look at the way that we are doing things and realizing that if we're going to reduce these commitments, we now need to target the entire family and not just the kids. In fact, yesterday we had our first meeting of our reinvestment grant committee, which I put together locally for Clayton County to put together our grant application. The first thing I did was I had our IT folks and our probation officers come together. The probation officer surveying, what are the top 3 reasons they're committing kids. And then I had the IT person do the data profile. What we found out is that 51% of the kids that we are committing now, and now keep in mind, Clayton County since 2003 has reduced commitments by 43%. So we're already way ahead of the curve. But despite that, 51% of the kids we are still committing are kids who are VOPs and misdemeanors solely grounded in family dysfunction, where the parents are saying, take my kids away. And the problem with that is that we don't have the more intensive resources like family functional therapy that these families and these kids need in the home to help these parents appropriately parent their kids, give them better skills, coping skills, the kids as well, because what's happening is that we're having a lot of low-risk kids, even in Clayton County, who are very high needs because of these family dysfunctions, going into these YDCs like you see behind me with razor wire fences, which they don't belong here, and we're making them worse, resulting in a 65% recidivist rate within 3 years when they get out.
There is a lot been said about the question of whether teenage unemployment is also a factor. Do you see that?
Teenage employment, is very effective in tying up a young person's time in a pro-social way. We know that when we look at the characteristics of effective programming in terms of what works to reduce recidivism, we know that we have to tie up at least 70% of a young person's time in pro-social ways. Now, that can happen in a number of ways, but we know what's at the top of the list is employment. Think about what a kid is learning when they work. Not only just tying up their time, but they're learning a lot of skills. They're learning about, they're getting money, the concept of economy, maybe opening up a checking account, a savings account. What does it mean to be more responsible when you get this money? Of course, let me kind of tie that back into family function, because how good is that if you don't have parents who understand that they need to stay on top of their kids, helping them realize the importance of how do you use that money, what do you do with that money, and how do you spend that money. But yes, it is a factor. It is very important. Job readiness is something that you should be including in any of your programming around young people who are troubled, delinquent, and even before that. I mean, it's always good for any community in terms of their community care plan to have a job readiness program for teens.
Governor Deal has talked about wanting to go forward with new ideas, additional ideas in both juvenile and the adult sectors. What would you like to see happen next?
I would like to see us, take a look at, you mentioned job readiness, how we can, focus more on some of these programs, bringing into the communities job opportunities, especially as the economy begins to improve. I mean, let's not forget this, okay? What we're doing here by saving the state upwards of $85 million is not just simply a cost savings, but it's also in the long run going to improve the economy, because the less kids that are going to prison as adults within 3 years, and they're turning their lives around, they become tax-paying citizens, and that's going to improve the economy. But to do that also means, I think, that we can do a little bit more reforming around, let's say, treating kids as adults. If we take a look at our data, all right, which I hope to do with the Pew Trust on the States, as they helped us this last year, and to see, well, how many of these kids who are arrested as adults under Senate Bill 440, the 7 deadly sins, are being transferred pre-indictment by the DAs to the juvenile court. And I think we're going to find that there are certain offenses for which we have a high percentage of transfers to juvenile court, and it begs the question, if we're transferring this many kids to juvenile court, why are we starting them off in adult court and holding them on longer and costing us even more money? Okay, we could save more money and get help to these kids sooner in juvenile court. I would like to see us start asking these questions as far as continue to reform.
Judge Stephen Teske, thank you for speaking with the Georgia Public Policy Foundation.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.